Hello. So, this is Roddy again, and I'm going to be practicing my English again. And it's not going to be easy because right now there is no power. Like literally, there is no power. But then, of course, just because there is no power doesn't mean that I have an excuse to not practice my English, right? I have my power of speech, I have my power of will, and I have something to talk about, so yeah, like the fact that there is no power now doesn't stop me and won't stop me from practicing my English. So let's get straight to what I want to talk about today. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about this character here. She is Selphie Tilmitt from Final Fantasy VIII. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about her, one of my favorite video game characters, even though I would say that I'm not really an avid fan of Final Fantasy VIII. Okay. What I like about her, Selphie Tilmitt, is that she is simply who she is. I mean, I know it doesn't it doesn't say much, but let me explain. Okay, so in the world of Final Fantasy VIII, teenagers and children alike are educated to follow orders and rules without question. Let me say that again. Children and teenagers are educated to follow rules and orders without question. Okay, and Selphie is a teenager. Okay, she's a teenager. So now I'm not saying that Selphie is a rebel, nor am I saying that she is submissive to authorities. Okay? In fact, I would say that she's in the middle, if you will. On the one hand, she knows that there are hierarchies. Okay, there are social classes. What you might call universities or colleges or schools in the world of Final Fantasy VIII called gardens. So gardens function as school/military facilities, if you will. And Selphie, of course, being a student, is trained as a military unit. Basically she's like some kind of a mercenary/soldier. Alright, so she's a mercenary and a soldier and a student at the same time. But even though she's a soldier, a mercenary, and a student at the same time, she doesn't have any murderous intent. She doesn't. She knows how to fight, she fights. But she doesn't fight out of anger or out of, loyalty to any ideology. She doesn't. Okay. But it doesn't mean that, again, she just simply follow orders submissively. Alright? Or impulsively. She doesn't. Okay. She is just Selphie. She is a friend to her friends. And she doesn't have any drama. Okay, in fact, I'm not saying that her life is completely perfect. It's far from it. The garden in which she's been raised and where her friends live gets attacked, and she loses most of her friends. Her garden is destroyed. So it's like it's her only home, and then it's gone. All right, but then nevertheless, she of course feels sad about it. But then she moves on, and she enjoys what she enjoys. She's only interested in trains for whatever reason, but at least she enjoys something, okay? If you're interested in trains, then Selphie is your friend. So she's interested in trains. She's also interested in parties and concerts. And she's energetic, always. She's always energetic. And she just doesn't have, like, the drama of many, she simply doesn't have the drama that many others have. She simply doesn't. She doesn't have any romantic drama. She doesn't have, like, she doesn't have weird, she doesn't have weird political ideologies. And, she's just herself. She doesn't, identify, into, any, like weird social construct or ideas, like, for example, Gardenism. If I'm making things up, but you get my point. Okay, so she's just interested in the things that she is passionate about, such as, again, trains, concerts, and parties. She's only interested in performances and things of that sort. So basically, she's interested in, she's interested in the things that she is interested in. I'm circling around. I'm sorry. I'm rambling, but she's only truly interested in the things that she is passionate about, like children do. If you're going to look at, the usual kids that we know, at least the ones that I know, and how we used to be as kids. We didn't have weird ideologies. We didn't have, like, political parties or anything of that sort. Maybe some of us were religious or something, but we were just kids. Like, we played with our toys, we played games, we had fun. Okay, well, of course it wasn't perfect. Like, it was always tough in school, but you get my point. It was just fun, right? We were not divisive. Okay, of course you could say, well, there were still divisions because, I and my friends were separate from other groups of friends. Yeah, I get that, okay? But at least we didn't have, like, weird ideologies that, divide people. Okay, and Selphie, even though Selphie is a teenager and has been exposed to different sorts of ideologies and instructions and curricula and things of that nature, artificial systems, she doesn't have any of those. Yeah, she's just herself again. And that's something to be, thought about, I think, because, like, think about it. Selphie is just herself. Period. She's not, like, a libertarian or a communist or a stoic or anything really. All right? She's just herself. Okay? But unfortunately, there are many people nowadays who, like, just because they like some ideology or some idea of a particular ideology, well, they identify themselves with it, and those who don't hold the same views are hated by them. Like they, because they identify with some or all of the ideas of a particular ideology, and for whatever reason hate those who don't hold such views. And it's sad. It's sad. It, causes more chaos and hate and suffering in our world. And Selphie simply represents the opposite because, again, she is just who she is. She doesn't have any ideologies. She's not a communist. She's not a Democrat. She's not a libertarian or whatever. She's just herself. Okay? So she enjoys what she enjoys. She loves doing what she loves doing. She focuses on the things that make her and her friends happy. That's it. As simple as that. Happiness and peace. Right? But then I guess perhaps that's not something that many people would want to accept, maybe. Or maybe they would want to accept it, but they overly identify themselves with some ideologies or some ideas from a specific ideology. And so they're caught up in this cycle of hate and division and discrimination and ostracization and everything else that I guess every weird idea that causes more suffering and division and hate and chaos to the world. And I think that having a look at Selphie, even though she's just a fictional character, having a look at Selphie will, if you wanted to, she could show you what it would be like if you just, be yourself. Just you. Just focus on what makes you happy. Do the things that make you happy. Okay, I'm not preaching to anyone. Of course, you do what you want. Okay, you do what you want. I'm just here practicing my English and sharing my thoughts and what have you. So thank you very much for listening, and yeah, Selphie Tilmitt from Final Fantasy VIII. Thank you for listening.